To you from the GHOne Stadium, and today the NPP is holding its final rally here at the GHOne Sports Stadium. Not at this time, by the way, a little later in the day, but preparations are ongoing. We have seen lots of people here. We've seen the campaign manager for the vice president, who is the candidate for the NPP. We have the deputy general secretary of the party. We have the national organizer and many other executives of the party. And the place is set up from where I sit, ready for the rally this evening. But I know that we told you we'll be talking to the general secretary of the party. Unfortunately, we're told that he has an emergency concerning the party, that he had to leave town. And so we'll be talking to the other executives of the party who are here present at the stadium getting ready for the rally. And this morning, my very first guest is Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe-Darko. She's Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. I love it when I speak with women in politics, by the way. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning,
I have
Serwaa.
to apologize for the sun on TV, by the way, so that if people see your makeup, they don't complain. But Doc, I see that the place is ready and set up. Before we get to the details of the rally today, how has the campaign been for you? Because today is your final rally.
Yes. What I would say, so I think I have been through 3 major campaigns for NPP, and this has actually been the campaign in which I featured the most. First as the Deputy General Secretary and also as the Deputy Campaign Manager. I think this campaign has been run very, with a lot of precision, plan. Of course, I mean, naturally there will be hitches here and there, but for me this campaign has really been good, especially because we have a candidate who was insistent on how he engages. So he has engaged the different groups across the whole country. He's toured the length and breadth of the country. Ex-President Kufuor did that. Our own dear current President Nana Dankwa also did that. But Dr. Bawumia has done it in a different style. First, he did the regional capitals, and then he started going constituency by constituency. And in each constituency, there was a proper schedule of activities. So he would engage stakeholders, and the stakeholder engagement for me has been the most significant, because then you actually reach out to the people who understand and want development for their various communities. And we've made it very all-encompassing and comprehensive. And I witnessed so many stakeholder engagements. And even me as an NPP person, every time I sat and I listened to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia speak, I'd get goosebumps, because he spoke to the people. He made them understand that this is where we've come from, this is where we are, and this is where we are going. And for me, I think
is that what you're
that
picking
is
at?
the
Because
significant.
on social media, that's not what it appears. That's not what they say it appears.
What are they saying then?
That the message is not getting to the people. The economic
the message
conditions
is
of the
getting to
country
the people.
is going to let people not vote for you.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, and I don't believe so. And I'm also a very ardent
You don't
researcher.
believe that people will not vote for you because of the economic conditions, or you?
I don't think that our vote, like the determination of our vote, is just about the economic conditions. What I see is, what have we done? What are the reasons for some of the economic conditions that the country went through, and what are we proposing as a solution for what we have seen? Therefore, what is the future? What are the solutions? What do we see have been the hitches in what we tried to do? And therefore, what are we proposing to do to solve it? And that for me has been the beauty of his message. So I'm not at all worried. I believe
Would you
that,
say that you have done everything humanly possible to win the elections?
I don't think that there's anything called everything humanly possible. Just as I always say, and probably also because of my strong research background and the fact that I'm more, very academic, and I know that you can always predict what people will do, but you can't predict everything that people will do. Decision making at every point in time is definitely influenced by a range of factors. So prominent among these factors is always the message. The candidate's message, as research has shown, always speaks to something that would either elicit, some form of emotion from the voter that will make the person want to turn out to come and vote, or would make the voter, either say that, well, I'm still not convinced that I even want to vote, not even vote for you, but not to vote at all. So I think all of these things are factors that come into play. But I believe strongly that where we have been, where we are now, we have been able to convince the Ghanaian voter that it is important that you give the NPP, the New Patriotic Party, another chance.
Yeah, I mean, finally, because we're just supposed to keep you here for a few minutes, yes. I want you to speak to the people. That's your camera. What would you like to say to the Ghanaian people?
I'd like to tell the good people of Ghana that the New Patriotic Party is a party of development and progress. It's also a party that grows the individual freedoms of every person. As a center-right party, we believe that growing the liberties and the freedom of every person is what will enable them to thrive and to contribute their most to their country. And I think you can see it in how we have promoted education and health, which we see as some of the key priorities in growing an individual's liberty and their freedom and giving them the opportunity to deliver their best. And that is what we've done. But I also believe that our message now is even more emphatic. It is about the fact that there's a fourth industrial revolution and we need to be part of it. What do we need to be part of it? What do we need to do to be part of it? Those are the policies and programs that we are promoting. We are saying that it is time now for us to tend to a digital economy. Not just a digital economy because digitization is the way to go, but because we have been able to identify specific policies and programs which, if we follow, it will help us to go. So let's just look at our agri sector, for instance. I find it very, very intimidating a bit when you ask a farmer that, okay, so from this hectare that you are growing, how do you intend to ensure that you get your maximum output from this sector? And for me, this is the way that we should be going. It's not just about agric mechanization, but it is also about being able to predict rainfall patterns, predict your yield per hectare, knowing which market you send your goods to, asking yourself if you're going to go into agric industrial processing, and etc. And I think these are the dots that we need to keep connecting to make development even better. So you lay the bedrock with good education and good health policies, but you also should lay the bedrock to ensure that people get more jobs, people get more opportunities. And I think this is where we are driving at. For me, I think one of the most significant thing about this digitization is the fact that you now can have a country that has a proper database. And I think data today, we've all realized, is so important and essential. Why is it that when you are outside, people are less likely to commit crimes working in supermarkets, working in factories, and etc.? It's because there's a database. It's because people know that I can be identified. So if I have a job here and I do not do it well, or I end up with a bad record because of the job, when I go and look for a job elsewhere, I will still go with that same identity number and I can be traced, So I think these systemic changes is also going to help us to develop and to progress. So for me, I think this is where we should be going, yes.
Thank you very much for speaking with us.
It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Antoinette Darko, Tsiboe. She is Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. We apologize for putting you in the sun.
No problem.
I'm going to be welcoming the campaign manager for the presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is in the person of Sammy Awuku. He's also the NPP's parliamentary candidate for... I see Sammy Awuku there.
I was campaign manager.
What are you then?
I'm senior advisor to the campaign.
Oh, senior advisor to the campaign.
And to Bawumia as well.
And to Bawumia as well. Forgive me also. He's also NPP member of parliamentary candidate for Ekuapem North constituency. For Ekuapem North constituency.
It's a pleasure to be sandwiched by two wonderful ladies.
I know. Good morning. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we're supposed to be speaking with the General Secretary of the party. We understand has an emergency party related. What kind of emergency could that be?
But then that's an able deputy.
Of course. And I
like
enjoy
he calls
speaking.
me, my able deputy.
Yes.
I've enjoyed speaking
smart
with.
lady, so it's a girls allowed thing.
Oh, of course, and I told her, but is the party having some crisis at
No,
this
no, no,
last
not at all.
moment?
I mean, at this point, you are stressed. We have been through elections before when I was youth leader and when I was national organizer. Especially at the tail end of the campaign, there are several meetings that you also have to be physically present. Some meetings at different stages and different levels, so it's not abnormal at all.
Okay.
And that's why I've been also pulled down to also come help with media
Engagement. So for you as senior advisor to the campaign and even to the candidate,
Yes.
how has the campaign been for you?
It's been amazing. And look, ordinarily, Serwaa, after 8 years of a party being in government, naturally and the world over, people want to see your back. But then the NPP is not facing that as we speak. The NPP still remain competitive and even tipped to win these elections. And it's an abnormal situation. And again, I've been part of President Akufo-Addo's campaign in 2012 when I was Deputy Communications Director. And also when I was youth leader for the NPP, entering 2016, and 2020 when I was national organizer. What I've seen with the Amihere campaign, which is unique and very interesting, is that the man has so much energy, and on daily basis he has targets that he sets for himself and we set for him to meet. Even sometimes in the middle of the night, we're still on with campaign. Something interesting happened on Saturday.
Okay.
So Saturday, he started the day from Afam Plains area, and where he had to cross the river and this pontoon and all that. From there, he had to drive to New Jabe North, where I met up with him and the team. We finished New Jabe North around 8:30. We moved to New Jabe South, and the people were still keeping vigil, tens and thousands of people. From there, around 11:30 p.m., we had to then depart for Kumasi, then I left for my constituency. So that burning desire to win and the winning mentality, for me, has done the trick for him. He's conducted himself well. A good candidate is a candidate who allows himself to be managed. Normally, we'll have candidates who end up managing his managers. But this time, he's allowed himself to be managed in a very disciplined with time. If you tell him 7 a.m. you have to be on the road, 6:45 he's ready to hit the road. And that's the kind of discipline that you need also in government.
Okay, let's talk about the Electoral Commission, which is a very major stakeholder in this year's elections. I'm sure that you've been, yes.
The special voting is taking place in my constituency today.
Today, okay. I'm sure that you have been monitoring all the concerns and the issues that the EC have had to deal with, for which many Ghanaians have said that for an election as crucial as this one that we're getting into, the Electoral Commission seems to be having so many issues that could jeopardize the elections. What is the NPP's view on this?
What the NPP should not do, and what we won't do, is to be the PR arm of the Electoral Commission at all. The Electoral Commission owes it as a responsibility to make sure they are up to the task to deliver credible polls for the Ghanaian people. NPP want to win these elections, beating the NDC hands down through the ballot box. And I am clear in my mind that on the morning of 8th December, NPP will be majority in Parliament. On the 9th of December, the Electoral Commission will declare the NPP's presidential candidate as President of the Republic. I'm saying 8th and 9th because on the 9th of December, that's when they normally call the elections for the presidential. But the morning of the 8th, it should be clear to all and sundry that this party has won majority seats in Parliament, and that will be the NPP.
But Mr. Awuku, but you have seen the various polls.
Not the fufu-based analysis polls of Musa.
Which one is the? That is fufu-based analysis. What makes it a fufu-based analysis?
First of all, this guy, ahead of the presidential primaries of the NPP, and I have the report. He said Baume was going to get 33 or so %. He said Kenneth Japan was going to come second, Alan was going to be first in the first round. The second round, he said Ken was going to win the presidential primaries. None of his predictions came true. And NPP will not take Bible lessons from a brothel. And if you listen to the analysis of Musa Dankwa, the reason why I say it's fufu-based analysis is that, I mean, how can you even say the NPP is going to lose in Oforiko? I mean, how? Oforiko. If the NPP even goes to sleep, they will win Oforiko. Maybe it's the margin that you're talking about. So clearly, I'm not a big fan of polls. It's a feel-good exercise. I have seen several polls as well that calls victory for the NPP. But at the end of the day, the best polls will be on the 7th of December. And so I'm going to be very straightforward on this matter. I'll come back to these polls matters, but let me deal with the Electoral Commission issue. The Electoral Commission, so far, they have done well. When there are issues, they respond to it. There are issues, they are quick to make sure that they lead the narrative. But they shouldn't wait for the issues to even happen. Because some of these things are things that they can sometimes resolve at the very early stages. And that is where sometimes I think that they should be up and doing. But in terms of the narrative, in terms of what the Electoral Commission, when there are issues, their prompt response, keeping the populace up to date on matters, they've been forthright with it. But they owe it as a duty that the polls are fair, credible, so that the generality of the masses will accept the results. So far, I will score them high marks, but I want them
the
to
Electoral Commission?
Yes, I'll score
you
them
think
high.
that they've done
but
very well, carried
will not
themselves
be doing the PR work. But so far, they've conducted themselves well.
Even with all the issues that they seem to be having?
No, you won't have a flawless polls all over the world.
But over the years, with the way that our democracy have grown, should we not be aiming towards having a flawless election?
Difficult. You know, in the U.S., they just ended presidential elections. In some states and some cities within Texas and other places, on the day of election, there were malfunctioning machines and all that. So it's not new. However, you work towards perfection. But to have a purely perfect system, you're going to have, it's going to take us a while.
Okay.
Even in over 200 years practice of a country's democracy, they've still experienced that. But what we want to see is some of the things that are avoidable. We don't want a situation where tomorrow there are some stations that, machines that things that should have gotten there at 7 a.m. It's 9 a.m. still, you don't have these electoral materials there. Then it begins to feed into some narrative and propaganda of any of the parties.
Okay. I mean, you talk about Musa Dankwa's, and I'll bring you in shortly, Doc, about Musa Dankwa's analysis or polls being a fufu-based analysis. But internationally, there's the EIU, which has also made a prediction that you're going to lose going to lose the election.
So the EIU predicted Kamala Harris to be elected president of the United States. Kamala is not president of the United States. So they've had several other predictions also wrong. There were polls that predicted a win for another party in Israel, but Benjamin Netanyahu ended up forming government. So, when you are conducting polls, there are two things that for me comes to play.
Okay.
There are community needs that at the time you
are But the polls that go in your favor, you trust those ones?
That's what I'm saying, that I am not a big fan of polls.
Okay.
I see it sometimes as a feel-good exercise. But I won't brush aside intellectual work done by competent and senior research people. Polls are supposed to help guide you to strengthen where you are doing well and for you to be able to pick up some potential spots that you might have overlooked. And at the end of the day, you've had candidates who are down in the polls, they end up winning their elections. Why? Because maybe they took the polls that was conducted, looked out for where, potentially people felt that they were going to fall, and they strengthened there to win an election. So I'm not saying that polls that favors the NPP, I go to bed and say that Hakuna Matata, no worries. No. Polls that favors the NPP, I also have to drill down to look at where they said we did well, where there are definitely no polls to give you 100%. Then it's a referendum,
right.
Kind of a Saddam Hussein election. But where it tells you that, okay, the NPP is likely not to do well here and here, and what are the issues that was raised. But I said that there are some community needs. Okay, if we don't get a market in this area, we won't vote. That's at the time that polls was conducted, there was no market there. So on the day of election, maybe market was commissioned 3 days before the election. You haven't gone back to conduct fresh polls or research there. So what it means is that what they told you a month ago, that and the reasons they based on to give you, if that problem has been solved, it will influence their.
So you're solving those problems because the people are threatening not to vote because those problems exist.
I give you a typical example. There's a community in my constituency called Obosomasi. After Ebri, enter that town. They don't have a toilet facility. It's been abandoned. I made a promise a couple of months ago in July to help fix that thing for the community. I went to commission it 2 days ago. In July, it was part of the complaint. They didn't say they won't vote, but the enthusiasm to go vote, you could see that they had been lowered a bit. When we went to commission that toilet facility, the chiefs and people said that for the honor and dignity that you have given us, we shall remember. Maybe if you had conducted polls there in July or August, one of the issues that some people will raise. So, and again, apart from the community needs, what will also influence the voter on the day of election? So, in 2020, you know, when I was national organizer in 2020, somewhere around Serwaa Amihere, I was driving there in the middle of around 9, 10 p.m. And in many of these rural communities, when they see a chain of vehicles, convoy 3, 4, 5, they sometimes even think it's the president or the vice president and all. Whilst driving through, you keep hearing them shouting, 4 more for Nana, 4 more for Nana. So to them and to these rural folks, they are connected with the Kufuor on a particular policy, the free SHS. You yourself, you've sampled views. It's one of the single most important interventions in the history of our country. So for me, and for such a person, maybe that person might be experiencing hardship because of the global economic turmoil. Everybody is feeling the pinch at the pump. But for that parent who had twins, had it not been a Kufuor's free SHS, a Kufuor and Baumire's free SHS, that poor parent, even in the face of that economic situation, will still not have been able to educate the girl child or the twins. Every family may desire to have Dr. Antoinette or Serwaa. Every family desires that their children should also grow up to become useful people. So, what will influence the voter on the day of election is a very crucial matter. For the over 5 million young Ghanaians, somebody has given them hope and future. And I think that not all of them will come to say thank you through voting, but majority shall remember.
Okay. Now, I mean, it's very good that you talk about the free senior high school and the things that people will remember. But I'm sure that you have seen Afrobarometer, you have seen the NCC surveys, which have said that majority of Ghanaians will think about the economy and the supposed mismanagement of the economy when they are voting. You mentioned free senior high school. Others make the argument that not everyone has been a beneficiary of free senior high school, but everyone feels the brunt of the economy and how for them, it has been mismanaged so far. Okay. You still think that people are going to vote for you?
So the Afrobarometer also tests the mood based on perception, how I perceive how things are going. Let me give you an example. A mismanaged economy has been able to restore teacher training allowance, nursing training allowance, taking up the burden of parents and families. A mismanaged economy has been able to implement a flagship program of free senior high school that has educated 5 million Ghanaians, young people. These 5 million Ghanaians, assuming that they have just single parents, not mother and father. We're talking about 5 million parents.
Right.
But if you are lucky to have both parents alive,
5 million parents?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That assuming.
But it's not.
Yes, it's not.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That assuming that, well, for every child on the street, you're supposed to have a mother and a father. Is that not? So assuming, let me even stick to you having just one out of the 2 parents. So those 5 million kids who have been educated, you're talking about 5 million either mothers or fathers.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So a mismanaged economy, in the face of global economic uncertainties, we've been able to implement this. We've been able to also start and complete 47 new health facilities and health centers, different from Agenda 111. In the face of a mismanaged economy, we've never reneged on our obligations as a country to pay our workers. During the pandemic, Nigeria, at a point in time, they had to stop paying the salaries of civil servants. South Africa had to halve the salaries of their civil servants. We never did that to the Ghanaian people. We never turned our backs on them.
Is that why we're still paying the COVID levy?
And so we've gone through pain. The world has gone through excruciating pain For the first time in the history of the world, after the Great Depression and all that, and after the Spanish flu several years and decades ago, for the first time in excess of over 100 countries had to rush to the IMF for a bailout. It is not a normal situation. To let you know that it was even more graphic, we could not congregate in churches. You couldn't even meet your own brother and sister and shake hands with. So that should tell you that something fundamentally went wrong, and an abnormality became a new normal in our lives. So I refuse to go with that tangent that is a mismanaged economy. But I will go with the thinking that the world went through challenges. The world experienced pain. Africa experienced pain. And Ghana had its fair share of this pain.
Okay. Let's talk about the Ashanti region. Doc, I want you to have a bite on the reasons why people will be voting, or what will inform the decision of voters, because Sammy Awuku says that the economy has not been mismanaged. But once again, it's gone through challenges.
Globally,
okay, but you said
that
the economy had been grown to such a point that it could withstand whatever thing that was thrown at it. You clearly will not stand by that, will you?
So before
Doc comes in.
Doc, I have to be careful because I'm on set. Yes, I have to be careful. But you have two builders. One builds a beautiful house for you, and that house there was rain, not even torrential rain. The house came crumbling. One built another beautiful house for you. There was rain, it could withstand. Tropical storm, it could withstand. Hurricane, it could withstand. Then there was an earthquake, and almost all the houses in that area came crumbling. You cannot tell me that builder was a bad builder, because that's why we even call something force majeure.
You're making a comparison, obviously, between the NDC and the NPP. What did the
NDC?
What did the NDC go through that everything came crumbling? Please remind us.
Let me give you an example.
Yes.
If you check the report of 2015 and 2016, cholera alone, cholera, eating from contaminated food, cholera, killed over 200 Ghanaians.
Well, cholera has killed a couple of people a couple of months ago.
I'm talking about 200 Ghanaians. If Ebola had come to Ghana, would have, I don't know how the NDC would have even managed.
But Ebola
COVID.
didn't come.
Well, but I'm using even cholera as a base. Compare cholera to COVID. What Akufo-Addo and Bawumia government was able to do with the management of the COVID situation, that to the extent that even though we lost lives, we were able to manage the numbers that we lost. But cholera, something that just the Ghana Health Service, with the backing of government, could have helped even manage the situation, they couldn't. So if I'm talking about the two builders, I'm talking about Bawumia NPP as a builder and Mahama NDC as another builder.
Okay, let me bring Doc in. Doc, yes. How do you convince people to vote for you, after what they term as abysmal performance, even in unemployment and even the economy? Many have lost their investments. They say that the cedi has depreciated. I mean, they don't have to say, it's obvious to all of us. And unemployment as of 2016, which was about 8%, according to the Statistical Service, is now about 14.7%. How do you convince people to vote for you?
Convince people to vote for you if you have solutions. If you identify problems and you don't have solutions, or if you live in a world where you don't even recognize that there are problems, then you can't tell people what you're going to do. You want us to solve
the problems that were created by a government you are part of?
It's nobody has created.
This is a man who
the problem,
is a vice president.
No, the problem of unemployment was not created by anybody.
Certainly not, but it has grown over time.
But
yet you boast every day about how many jobs you have created.
Do you expect unemployment not to go? You have a lot more people going through school, a lot more people going through education, a lot more people graduating. Let me tell you something, Serwaa. Just barely 10 years ago, in the educational landscape of Ghana, tertiary educations, we didn't have more than 75 institutions. Take away the powerhouses like the University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast, etc. 75 we did not. Go to NAB, National Accreditation Board, and check over the last just 5 years the number of institutions now graduating So definitely there is going to be, if you say that there's not going, it's a total mismatch. But what you want to ask it, what are you proffering? What are the solutions? And for me, if you don't have solutions, then don't campaign. And that's what we've seen our opponent do. What are their solutions? What have they proffered? What alternative arguments have they given? If you keep saying, then that's what you are saying. We are the two on the ballot. So let's be realistic. We are in power and we have employed.
For you,
if you have not employed, listen,
hold on. Fortunately for
3 years
you have
before
a
we
candidate
came
who has
into
been your
power.
vice president, who has touted himself
and
as
he
the best vice president in the country.
And he has done it. He's been president before.
But when
our
you
opponent
were
has even been president
over,
before.
When you were taking over,
constitutionally, he was the
unemployment
leader.
rate was at about 8%.
That was what I wanted to address.
Okay,
So
you
what,
will.
So what the Ghana Statistical Service, I can tell you on authority, the model that they used to measure unemployment as of 2016
it's now different.
It's now different. They use a new base.
Really?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Yes,
So if they had used what they used in 2016 to measure, then people would have reduced their unemployment to using that same format that they
Is that so?
They have.
Yes.
When did they change it?
This they use a new model.
When?
This year.
Just this
I
year.
can tell you for a fact. You can ask them.
Just this year. Okay, but what the figures I gave you, is not for this year.
No.
It's for the third quarter of 2023. So it's not for this year.
So I'm speaking on authority and on record. The Ghana Statistical Service, the model that they use to calculate and measure the unemployment as of 2016 is different from what you currently referring to.
But you said they changed it this year.
No. Like I mean the recent one that you're referring to.
Okay.
So you can just your production team can cross-check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is not to say that we don't have unemployment situation. And just as
I've explained to you.
And to buttress her point, we are churning out more young
people.
Graduates.
What is your solution?
Remains the single biggest headache of African governments all over the world. There's a national security meeting. But this government, if they've created in excess of 2 million jobs, we have to create more because the millions of Ghanaians, for me, who need jobs, cannot be found in the public sector. There's entrepreneurship, skill training. That's why you have government now going into STEM, going into TVET, this training, apprenticeship, and all NEP, and all. You have to expand that base, support many more people. Look, just some 3-4 days ago, about 1,000 young people, 1,000 were trained in my constituency in soap making, bleach, cereal. I was amazed when the trainers, these are seasoned trainers, and they were telling me that, I have a daughter who has an allergy to maize. And I've been thinking of them, how can you have an allergy to maize? Because many of our foods are based. And one of the things that I learned from this training that they did of a cereal, they use wheat, soya bean, and wheat, soya bean, and millet. Then they have one that they use maize, they have granite, they have soya bean. For these young people in my constituency, 1,000 of them. So if they get this support, little support, I don't think they'll come back asking for fish again. So that is the way to go.
Let's move on.
And then the digital skill. If Baumia is promising that even with your phone, and if you are equipped and supported to do this coding and all, you can have somebody sitting in his or her room and developing these apps to support companies and these delivery services and all. I would choose that over partying in a nightclub for 24 hours.
But where did the NDC say that you will party in a nightclub for 24 hours?
They are saying that their 24-hour economy.
They have said
they are going to have
nightclubs, discotheques. You can run that.
This is in their manifesto. But you cannot be oblivious of that. You read it. So I don't know which club in Ghana, Twix or where, that from now they will open for a set of people to come in and close at 1 or 2. Another group will party till 8 and then come on.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the Ashanti region. The Ashanti region in this election, especially towards the end, has proven to be a battleground for this election. And
why is it a battleground?
I mean, many watchers have said that the Ashanti region will decide the outcome of this election. We have seen your candidates and yourself, your executives, go to the Ashanti region. You stayed there for 15 days your candidate, more than that, you've gone back there. Your candidate is in the Ashanti region as we speak. We have seen the NDC as well go there, the former First Lady go there. In fact, both of you have been there. How has the Ashanti region received your message?
Well, I think it's been phenomenal, and the NPP at the end of the day, we've gone back to our stronghold as usual. They are also doing what they have to do. This is a region they've always also voted in support of the NPP. I do not expect anything new to happen.
You don't?
The NDC also had their largest vote from them in the 2020 election.
They said.
Yes, to the second voter. But the NDC themselves have told the Ashantis that even when we construct gold roads for you, you won't vote for us. And this is on record. Since we came, the opening up of mines to support them, health facilities to support Ashanti, their roads, many of them are under construction, and also clearly, I do not think that is a battleground. But what I think is that the NDC wants to make sure that the votes they have there, they are more or less consolidating it. What the NPP is doing is also consolidate our gains and the votes that we have.
Okay, Doc, how do you respond to those who say that the over-concentration in the Ashanti region by your candidates and your executives shows the complaints that the people in the Ashanti region have had for years, that you have neglected your stronghold, and now that is election time, you've gone back there to talk to them?
I don't support that. I have been in the central region. I've been in the central region. I think it also comes from the fact that where do we all have our populous areas? Where do we have your votes? You know, where do you have your vote base? You go there and you work there. Why would you want to go chasing for hidden and, you know, things that you don't know if you can even reach? When you have your base right in front of you, you can consolidate your gains, as Sammy rightly said. So for me, I'm not really worried. And I think that if you look at the population in Ashanti region, that's why, I mean, if you want to equate executives to total number of votes, then you definitely need a majority of executives to be working there. So I don't think it is about that. We are so in love with the Ashanti region. When I'm in the Ashanti region campaigning, all I do is to laugh and to smile. You get so excited and pulled into it. So then the euphoria there is, yes, so it's always like that, exactly. Yeah.
So you haven't neglected them?
No,
But it
I
cannot
don't think so.
Even that cannot come. That's the reason they have the chief of staff.
Yes.
The two education ministers
Ministers
we've had
have come from the region.
The National Security Minister
Has come from the region. Yeah. You know, I did a bit of a tally to look at how many appointments, ministers and deputy ministers from
I want to
Ashanti.
know how they neglect.
Over
I
30
see. Okay.
have come from the region.
Because of the sun, I have to wrap up the conversation.
Virus, 8,000
Yeah.
CU and many
Who will be joining us on the show very
So
shortly.
now you
But
can
today-
understand why.
Today,
there's
I mean,
more
when I
people
talk
always
about
going
neglect,
there.
I have been to the Ashanti region. I have heard the people speak. They talk about their roads and other infrastructure problems. It's not just about appointments, as you're making reference to. It's being fixed because we are getting into the election.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Development is continuing.
I see.
You cannot finish everything.
Another
right,
thing,
let's-
Serwaa, please
yes, quickly.
look at how massive that the region is.
Mm.
No,
Okay.
47 constituencies. So, you know, you'll start, but it's continuing. And the
Okay.
emphasis is about the continuing.
Okay, Sammy, today you hold your biggest rally here in Accra. But many people have said that the NPP will lose the Greater Accra region. I'm sure that you have heard that as well. Because of how diverse the region is and the kind of people
no
here.
ruling party wins the capital.
Why?
I don't know.
If
For
you
one
had
re-
performed
no,
well,
for one reason or the other. No
don't you
ruling
think it's
party.
based on performance?
It is, but it's also the epicenter of the propaganda. I'm not saying the NPP will lose Greater Accra, but in 2020, even
But you
though
said
the
no
NPP
ruling party
yes,
wins
but in
the
2020, even though the NPP
Well, that's what
lost,
our history has shown.
That's what our history has shown us. But if you look at the NPP's 2020 election results, we lost Greater Accra, but we won both the presidential and parliamentary.
Are you not looking to change the history as you have always
Oh, we
done?
definitely would fight and want it
We
better.
want
Do you
to
think
fight
you
and
win
want
the
it
Greater
better.
Accra?
I think
We
the
can
NPP
win.
will remain strongly competitive in Greater Accra.
But not win.
I am taking the NPP to win by a whisker in Greater Accra.
Okay.
By a whisker.
You have
I don't
said-
predict a massive win for NPP in Greater Accra, but I tip the NPP to win Greater Accra marginally.
Okay. You have also said that the NPP will win the elections with means that the NDC will not understand.
I want to repeat and quote myself. I said the NPP will win the 2024 December elections on strategy, and NDC won't understand.
What strategies
I
are
didn't say
these?
means. I said on strategy.
What strategies are these?
You go into elections with strategy. The candidate even going in and out of particular region.
It's a strategy.
But there are many who say that
But the
that
NDC have-
statement
that-
means
they-
you intend to rig the
No,
election.
the NDC, I think they're paranoid. And, you know, I was in my constituency 2 days ago. Then somebody sends me a message that there's this guy who normally does this video lives elsewhere across the world, and said, oh, I was currently in a room with Reverend Tsiboe and the General Secretary. We are plotting on moving the final rally to Kumasi, and that, so they should watch the three of us. Also still in my constituency, then they say, oh, I'm in Amasama now with these security boys and Awuku and the team. They want to rig. It's part of the strategy we spoke about. Look, every election, you go into an election with a strategy. In my opening statement, I said by the morning of the 8th of December, the NPP would have formed majority in Parliament. And on the 9th of December, NPP would have been declared
The winner.
in the presidential election. So you cannot go into a major election without a strategy. When you're in matter, it's an election that you have to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. If I have my result, if I have my check sheet as a parliamentary candidate, I know where my votes are coming from. Ekropon hold 11,000 votes. Latte have 8,900 votes. Mampong have 8,200 votes. It goes on, then I have a town that have 790 votes. You are telling me that 2 days to election, I should be focusing on the 790 community because I have 11,000 that I have to fight. Then they are not serious. Just I'm saying that when people win this, they will beat the NDC on strategy. But how we beat them, we tell them in January after the swearing.
What do you have to say to the Ghanaian people finally before we go? This is your camera.
On a quiet note, this one you brought me on Subano. To all those watching us on this prestigious network, I won't deny the fact that the world, we've been through challenges. Globally, continentally, and locally, we have gone through pain. But I will go for a government that on any day will rush to the rescue of its citizens in their darkest hour. If you want to also check the NPP's glorious days and years of 2017, 2018, 2019, and even beginning 2020, NPP proved beyond reasonable doubt that even though we inherited an IMF economy, we never turned our backs on the Ghanaian people. We took 5 million plus young Ghanaians through school. We gave them a future. We gave them education. For the parents who had twins, you were supposed to pay 18,000 cedis by the end of the 3-year program. If you are twins, it will be ×2. President Akufo-Addo and the Bawumia government had to shoulder this burden on your behalf. To the many young people that today, some of you are even demoralized and say, we are not even going to vote. You staying away from the process is emboldening our opponents to come in and draw us back. I want to plead with you, for all those watching us on this set, it's a choice between Ghana's future and Ghana's past. On the ballot, the number 1 represents Ghana's future. It represents the bold solutions, the employment that we want to create for millions of our young Ghanaians, through digital skills, through skill training, through education, and through educational support, and in the mining sector. Number 1 also represents continuation of the free senior high school, the continuation of projects and the completion of projects that the NPP we have started, the roads, the schools, the 47 hospitals we started and completed, the over 130 hospitals and health facilities that we have currently started. Let's make a bold decision. Let's make a choice that represents our aspirations and the future. And I believe that on the ballot paper, finally, on December 7th, God's people are they are number one on the ballot. Even when we go to church, they tell us that heaven is even up there. I don't think we need to waste our time going down on the ballot paper. A vote for our opponent and President Mahama is him telling us goodbye through the smile on the paper. A vote for Bawumia, he's telling you that if I work hard, I know I can come back to you for your vote. Don't make a mistake to give somebody a retirement package. Vote for your future. Vote number one and vote Bawumia, and wherever you see the elephant on the ballot paper, it's a choice between hope and hopelessness. It's a choice between retirement and continuity. It's a choice between God's people and the kingdom of darkness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sammy Awuku. He is the senior advisor to the campaign team of the NPP's presidential candidate and also advisor to the candidate himself, and he's also the NPP's parliamentary candidate for Ikuapem North, who I am tipping to win the seat, by the way. Well, I don't vote, but I mean, I tend to support and endorse my friends who are candidates, and I'm supporting Sammy Awuku, by the way.
They are very strategic. When GHOne was alive, they kept saying, oh, we are for Ghana Freedom Party.
I know.
But they know that these people, there is a safer ground. But thank you for sticking your neck out to endorse my candidate.
Oh, for you, not you as a person. And Dr. Antoinette. Dr. Antoinette.
But I want you to be bold.
And say what?
Do an endorsement
of
between God's people and the kingdom of darkness.
I am
Between
only,
the possibilities.
I just think that Sammy Awuku is the right man for that seat, just as I think Sam George is the right man for Dingo Pram Pram. Thank you very much for coming.
Very nice one.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. Antoinette
Tsiboe, a neutral campaign.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe-Darko, thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
We're going to be talking to the director of the State Housing Company. We want to find out, in terms of housing, what the NPP has done to encourage Ghanaians or to want Ghanaians to vote for them. You're still watching GH Today. This is Voters Connect. We're coming to you live from the Legon Sports Stadium, where the NPP is to hold their final rally today here in Accra. And I'm joined right now by the CEO or the director, the Chief Executive Officer of the State Housing Company, Mr. Kwabena Appiah. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's good to see you. I've been watching you. I've been monitoring all the things that you have been doing. You've been across the length and breadth of the country. I think you were in Ashanti region recently.
Yes, I was.
Because you've been with Vina.
Yes.
My friend
Yes,
Vina.
yes.
Anyway, how's the campaign been?
It's been awesome. It's been a very rewarding experience. So far, we've been to every region and we've been to every constituency, speaking to Ghanaians and then advocating for Ghanaians to support the New Patriotic Party and Dr. Bawumia, as well as our parliamentary candidates. And so far, I would say that the response has been great, and I believe that on Saturday, Ghanaians are going to listen to us.
Let's talk about the housing problems in Ghana. Yesterday on Twitter, which I'm very active on, I saw people talking about the housing problem, that whichever party comes to power should look at the housing problem that we have. We currently have a housing deficit of about 1.8 million. What have you done as CEO of State Housing to ensure that we fix this problem by a large margin? For which reason Ghanaians will vote for you?
So the housing problems, like you said, is something that it needs a revolutionary approach. And in the past, what previous governments have been doing is basically giving out a contract to an individual to build what we termed as affordable housing. That turned out not to be affordable anyway. Now the approach has been different. And instead of the government giving money to an individual to build, what the government is doing is actually providing the land and also the off-site infrastructure to private companies who are interested in building affordable housing to take care of the supply side. So by so doing, companies like State Housing Company and other individuals are able to cut costs in terms of construction by sometimes as much as 35 to 40%. These are savings that goes to the final consumer. So it makes home prices to go down just by itself. Also, on the demand side, what the government is doing is to introduce a mortgage scheme where people will be able to get long-term financing for their homes. Now, even with the introduction of the credit scoring system in the country, what it means is that private banks will be able to assess everybody individually based on their financial habits. So, like for example, Serwaa is somebody who is very disciplined with money. So the banks will be able to say that, well, for Serwaa, we'll give you 5%. For virus, because we know you spend more than you can own, so we'll give you 50%. So people like Serwaa will be able to buy homes at a lower interest rate, thereby also feeding into the demand side, whereby if private individuals are building, they'll be able to sell more. So I think that the country is at the right place to be able to take off effectively with housing. Before, I mean, basically what we have been doing is putting plaster on cracks, because if somebody builds 1,000 homes or even 100,000 homes and the people can't afford it, it's useless. And no private individual is prepared to put money into a venture where people will not be able to afford. But with the new developments and with the new vision that the NPP is bringing on board, it's going to make it easier for people to be able to get into the real estate space, because you know that once you build, you'll be able to get people who will be able to buy.
Okay, let's talk about the economy as a whole and the country, the management by your party. You know, Ghanaians, I'm sure that you have been monitoring social media and the comments that people have been passing that in terms of the economy, the government hasn't performed very well, and for that reason they're going to vote against the party. But you seem pretty confident that you're going to win the elections.
Yes, I'm confident, because whatever is happening in the economy is not something that is surprising. I remember our president.
It's not surprising?
No, our president said this a few years ago, that we know how to fix the economy, because he knew that during the high times of COVID, the interventions that we were doing was going to affect the economy. But of course,
but Mr. J, we are not the only country that was affected by COVID.
Of course, we are not the only country that's not affected by the COVID. I mean, take a look at Gabon, for example. I have a friend, Gambo, who's in Ghana right now. He's a citizen of Gabon who's moving his family to Ghana because COVID, they've not been able to have the kind of recovery that Ghana is having in their country. I mean, if you travel across the sub-region, now Ghana is the breadbasket of the rest of West Africa because of the kind of progress that we are having. So yes, Ghana is not in isolation when it comes to other countries that are close to us. But at least Ghana, we are getting something right. And the fact that we have a system of recovery that is really, really working for us at the moment. Yes, are we where we want to get to? No. But we know that we have the right people in place to be able to get there. I mean, if you compare it to the alternative, with all due respect, I mean, our opponents inherited single-digit inflation in 2008. That time we had a fresh oil discovery. How did they manage the economy? This is not a group of people that you are going to hand over a country in recovery to, when even at the height of our progress, they couldn't manage it. But we have shown that we've been able to turn around difficult economies. I mean, we did it into the year 2000, we did it in 2016, and now we are doing it again. So I believe that Ghanaians are going to weigh the various options that we have and decide on where to go to. Yes, we are not there yet, but we know we are going to get there.
Okay, let's talk about today. What should we expect? Because I see that since I've been here, that you've been on the grounds, making sure that everything is going on well. What should people expect today?
You should expect our flag bearer here. You should expect the president, I believe, and also our former president, and a lot of other party faithfuls are going to come here. Today is going to be our final rally. It's going to be the final call out to Ghanaians to be able to come out and vote decisively for the future of Ghana on Saturday. This elections is more than Serwaa, me and you. It's more than the NPP and the NDC. It's about the woman who is crying in the village, thinking about how she's going to feed his children next year.
It's also about the businessman who's lost his investment.
Exactly. It's about the person whose businesses will collapse under NDC, who is praying that they will not be able to do that.
But it's also about the person who has business or who had a business now who has lost his investment.
Yes, but that person has hope. That person knows that the people to be able to turn it around is the NPP.
The same people who destroyed the investment will turn it around?
The NPP did not destroy it. What happened...
But you superintended over it.
No, what happened was something that happened across the world. the whole world suffered. But we know that the people do have the tools to do that is the NPP. You don't give it to some. I mean, if you are sick, you don't go to the carpentry shop to get treatment. The people who can do it is the people not somebody that you gave it the best and they mismanaged it. We all know. I mean, if you are being honest with ourselves, we know that we had a global shock. And across the but we are recovering. We are fixing it. And you don't go back to the people that even when it was great and you gave it to them, they couldn't do it. So to the businessman who has suffered, they know that next year it's going to be better. They know that things are going to go better for us. You don't go back to somebody who couldn't do it. And of course, the woman who is at home, whose child is finishing BECE, who is expecting the child to go to senior high school, knows that with NPP, they don't have to go and sell their property. They don't have to sell their clothes. I mean, I've been across the country. I've heard horror stories about people who had to do personal sacrifices, some that are so demeaning just to put their kids back to school. Now, for the first time in our secondary schools, kids don't have to be afraid of their bears coming in with the cane to sack them from the classroom.
Mr. J, now that you've mentioned free senior high school, free senior high school was introduced almost 8 years ago, and you're still campaigning based on that. The NDC hasn't said they will cancel free senior high school if they come to power. What is that single thing beyond the free senior high school that your party or led by Dr. Amihere is promising to do for the people he voted into power?
You see, the NDC's candidates from day one have been against free senior high school. They campaigned against it. He has said it on record, Serwaa, and I believe that GHOne have it, those on tapes, that it is a promise by a desperate politician, and if you have that kind of money, you're not going to spend it on free SHS. So obviously that is something that they don't have any plans of continuing. But this is something that, since independent, there's been one policy.
I don't think that's factually correct. I mean, they haven't said that they will cancel it.
But he has said it over and over again that if he has that money, he's not going to use it on free SHS. And you've heard it.
But that was then. In this campaign, they have made it very clear that they will continue the policy. They will just review it, for which a lot of people are calling for.
And you ask them, what does review mean? And what
and
do
it
they
doesn't.
say?
It does not mean cancellation, and you know it's.
Of course, that's exactly what they mean.
Cancellation.
That is exactly what they mean.
That can be.
I mean, so unless of course if they have explained it to you better, then maybe you can help us.
I interact with members of the NDC almost every morning on my show. We have heard the former president, John Dramani Mahama, speak about free senior high school.
And I'll tell you something. You interact with them. I also do. And
they tell you that they will cancel it.
As early as this morning, one of them told me that the reason why NPP is so confident about winning elections is because of free SHS. And they know that the more people are educated, the less likely they will vote for them. So that is something they will not countenance. That is what when we meet them, that's what they tell us.
So you mean the NDC tells you they'll cancel free senior high school? Who are these?
These are NDC people. These are their kingpins. The people who are leading their policy. They don't have any intention of continuing free SHS. Of course, like their leader, they will come out depending on the audience, is what they say. But they have said it on record several times to let Ghanaians know that they don't have any appetite to continue free SHS. Because they know that free SHS, that single policy, will not let them come to power. They are quoting that right now we've bribed 5 million people with free SHS. And that is not a bribe, that is educating people, that is changing the lifestyle of Ghanaians.
Yeah, but not 5 million people have benefited from free senior high school.
What I'm saying is that is what they are claiming, that the people who are going to free senior high school is bribery. But this is not just bribery, it's not bribery, we are not bribing them. We are changing lives of individuals. Right now, the watchman in my house, his daughter is a Wesley Girls. That is something that will never have happened under an NDC government.
How?
My kokora, the woman that I buy cocoa in the morning, his son is a presec right now. How the hell will that kokora from Obuasi be able to send their child to presec? These are life-transforming policies of the New Patriotic Party that we hope and we want to continue. And that we know that when the NDC come, that will be the first thing that they'll put their action on.
But you haven't answered my question. Beyond free senior high school, because that was a policy that was introduced by Nanado, if I can say. What are you bringing? What's because the NDC talks about 24-hour economy. What is yours? What is that one single policy that people should
Dr. Amihere talks about creating wealth, creating job avenues for the youth. He's talking about outsourcing jobs. 1 million George from in ICT. That is something that I can relate to. Because I mean, when I was working in the United States, even though my office was in Washington, D.C., I had staff in Indonesia, in India, in Mexico. Why not Ghana? And it's because they had people like Dr. Baumia who had a vision some time ago to digitize their economy, to give them that kind of platform to be able to compete across. I mean, the United States alone, I mean, you can Google now, hires over 2 million people from India. We speak better English than them, Serwaa. You speak better English than most Indians that I've met. Why can't we take advantage of that? And it's because they had a leader who was able to propel them to that. He's talking about reforming our tax system by bringing in a flat rate tax. That is going to be a game changer for those of us who are into imports. He's talking about having a tax amnesty where we are going to start from scratch. Business people who are currently struggling paying taxes, that is going to be a huge boost for business in the country next year, where everybody don't have to worry about package of unimaginable proportion, where people who own millions of cedis can reinvest that money back into their business. This is what Dr. Baumia is promising Ghanaians. These are factual things that are tangible, that are measurable, that are going to have impact on our businesses, impact on jobs, and impact on Ghanaians. That is what Ghanaians are looking up to in 2025. And you ask yourself, what are these people, what are the opposition bringing on board?
Thank you very much, Kwabneji. He is
It's
the chief,
Kwabnapia.
Kwabnapia, forgive me. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the State Housing Corporation. Thank you for coming
Thank you
on
so
the
much,
show, and
Serwaa.
I wish you the very best today. Thank you. We've been coming to you from the GHOne Stadium. Let me cross over now to my colleague Lantampa Panko in the studio. This is Voters Connect.